So what's up, guys? So if you watch our channel, you definitely know that we love an incredible chase, and we chase $2 million Lamborghini Miuras and barns and you name it. It's definitely an honor to tell you guys all of our incredible stories. Now today, we have probably one of the best stories and an honorary guest joining us today. And I want to give you guys, before we jump into this, a little bit of a background. 3 years ago, a dear friend of mine, Alex Aievoli, basically brings in an incredible guy, a sweetheart guy, who ends up becoming one of our business partners, Mr. Jim Getz, huge tech guy, a mogul in his industry. And at that point,
I thought
we decided.
Talking about me. Sorry. Okay. All right, go on.
Coming soon.
I like Jim too. We like Jim. We like Jim.
And at that point, we decided that we were going to create a strategic partnership with Alex, and he was going to help us with his contacts. Now, Alex is an entertainment guy, Hollywood guy, New York, nightclub scene in Miami, you name it. He's got incredible contacts in the celebrity world, etc. And that's something that we don't do. We are car nerds, and we are chasing VIN numbers, etc. So it's very cool to have Alex on our team. And over the past couple years, we've been back and forth with the one and only Mr. Michael Bay, legendary producer, legendary director of some of the greatest action films of our time. And we're going to tell you today about an opportunity with the one and only Transformers car collection. So, sitting with Mr. Michael Bay, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. It's great, exciting to be here.
Of course.
I mean, it's not that exciting, but it's it's fun. This is fun stuff. It's fun stuff because I'm a car guy too.
And sitting with Alex.
Of course.
So you got to tell us. How did this
But can I tell you a funny story really fast about Alex? I've known Alex for a long, long time. I've known him for a long time. I had no idea that was his last name. I had no idea.
Everybody says this.
I had known him for 15, 16 years. I had no idea. Is that his name? Aviola? I can't even say it. No wonder I don't know his name.
It's funny. So going back to the LA days, when I first met Mike, I was a TV host, and I was working with E and a bunch of different networks. And they decided that Aievoli would be a little hard to sound out, so they used my middle name, Mitchell. So I went from Al to Alex Mitchell, which actually my first name, believe it or not, is actually Albert.
Yeah.
So I'm not even really who I am anymore. I'm not even who I am anymore.
We're learning a lot today. We're learning a lot.
But I know, John was asking me how I met Mike, and so basically I moved out to LA to pursue that career, and believe it or not, when I was driving over Cahuenga Boulevard, I was with a friend of mine, and I said to myself, we don't have cars. We need to buy cars. And there was a dealership on the left side, and I wound up buying my first car out there was a '69 Camaro. And my friend bought a Chevelle, and my father was good with cars, and I just became really passionate about it. And Bruce Willis had a Corvette back then, which he asked me to redo the motor. So I did that, and he decided he wanted to throw a supercharger on it. After they hit it into a tree, I continued the journey, and I think through my nightlife and passion of cars, I met a couple of friends out in LA, Rick and Carmack, that were very good friends with Michael, and we just hit it off. Really great guys, and we hung out a lot. And I was going to Miami a lot, and I think at that time you'd probably had done Bad Boys back then.
Yeah.
So you were.
So I've been familiar with Miami. Yes.
You had a big love of Miami, but it was something when I came from New York, I went right over to Miami, and I went to LA, but I always kept a place here and gone back and forth. And we always spoke about cars a little bit here and there, and eventually you came to.
Well, he really bugged me. He bugged me.
I pursued the cars hard.
No, because after starting the Transformers franchise in I think 2007. A lot of it was about cars, and I had no idea if the first one would even work, and in terms of the movie, and it became a surprise hit, and then it became a $4 billion franchise after 5 movies. They're doing one right now that I'm producing to keep the franchise going, and along the way I acquired some of these cars. So it's literally there is only one Transformer franchise car collection, and that's either at Rick Hendrick's place, who I've met, NASCAR circuit, and my place. There's some other sub cars, but these are the real, true hero movie cars that he has downstairs here.
Yeah, I pursued that one for how many years?
So he pursued it, he bugged it, and he bugged me. I'm like, I don't want to sell them. I don't want to sell them. I mean, you got to keep them. Spielberg says keep it forever, and it just might be time to sell it as a collection now, and pass it on. So, what's interesting about cars is there's a story for every car, and that's why I like going to some of these auctions. And
Of course.
it's always about the stories.
It is.
Now, can you tell us, looking, when the cars arrived first in Miami, I mean, the impact of, obviously you've got the Lamborghini Aventador, which is an incredible color.
Right.
You have the SLS, but the impact of seeing Bumblebee, I think for everyone here, I mean, we ended up covering the cars, and I mean, this is the first time that we're even talking about this to our collectors and followers and friends. But I think the impact of Bumblebee to anyone that has had a glimpse of it, can you tell us more about?
Well, I mean, just to give you an example, we were shooting that Bumblebee, that very Bumblebee. We were shooting that car in Washington, D.C., and I remember I'm on the camera car, and we hear a group of 40-year-old women, "Oh my God, that's Bumblebee!" I mean, they'll scream for the car. It really is a crowd pleaser, and you can put it at any mall, and you will have a huge crowd gather around it. It's great for kids, and we brought a lot of Make-A-Wish kids to my set, and it's really a joy to watch these kids, and they really think it's real, and it's just sitting, it's not transforming, and it's really touching to watch.
You know what I wanted to ask is, I know we spoke about it a little bit, but how actually that Camaro came to the film?
Okay, that one, it's got a long story, but the story, I'll try to make it cut to the chase. I've worked with General Motors for about, I think overall, 20 years. They've helped me out with different, am I supposed to be looking at you or camera or what? What do you want?
Whichever.
If you want to talk to the camera, that's your camera.
Why don't you just put the camera in front of me and just do a close-up and we can do that? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We got
We have
it.
it.
Kidding.
We got it right here. Right
Oh,
here.
okay.
So you should be on this one?
Yeah.
Okay, this one.
It's just the cameras are so small. I don't even. It's
We
very
knew
hard.
you were going to say that.
Yeah, it's
we
just
called
like,
that.
I could critique this. I could rip this all apart, but
Big
it's okay.
budget here. Big budget.
okay. It's okay.
Thank Cam.
So the stories, working with GM on Bad Boys and whatnot, they would always give me cars, and they started to. I built a great relationship with them, and I've done big car campaigns for them in terms of commercials, and then when we were doing the first Transformers, I went to a special building. I can't tell you where it is. It's called the Skunk Works at General Motors, and that's where they do special prototypes, future things that might never or may happen, whatnot. Yeah. You'll see clay molds of stuff, different sizes. So I walk in there looking for a Bumblebee, and the Bumblebee was a Volkswagen, and I'm looking at the stuff they've got, from hydrogen cars to all these new gizmos they've got, from little cars to automotive little cars, it's just crazy stuff they've got in there. It's a very cool building. And I said, "What do you got?" And I saw a picture on the wall, and there was a concept drawing of a car. And I said, "What's that?" They go, "That's the Camaro." And they go, "We're probably not going to make it." And I'm like, "Huh? Can I see more pictures of that?" And I'm like, "That's going to be a Bumblebee." And the fans went crazy. They got upset. They said it's got to be a Volkswagen. And I'm like, "Well, it's going to be a Camaro." And, director's choice. What we do in movies is we have a massive design team, and I knew the head designer at Ed Welburn at General Motors, great guy, and I used some of their designers and my designers, and we came up with how to make this cool, how to trick it out where it's going to be a fast car, but it was not built. So what we had to do is we had to put it, I think, on a Corvette chassis, the first one. And General Motors, after we passed the designs back and forth to make it more sporty, whatnot, they had to assemble this car all out of like fiberglass at a special company in Detroit.
Wow.
And so they made 3 of them. And because in movies you need 3 of them in case you crash one and whatnot.
Yep.
So you need like different stunt type cars. You need the hero car, so that's when you do a movie like that. What they do is GM just puts them in a big old warehouse. They'll put it in their museum. They've got it in the History Museum in Detroit, which is fascinating, and that Camaro downstairs, that was in the 3rd movie. A lot was shot in Chicago. At that time it came out, it became one of the top 10 grossing movies of all time.
Wow.
And GM said to me, I said, can I get one of the Camaros? And this is after working with them on, I think this was the 3rd movie, whatnot. 4th movie I even asked him. But let me back up for 1 second because I forgot. They weren't going to make the car. The movie comes out and everyone's like, oh my God, we want that car. And so GM literally started manufacturing that thing quickly, I think a year and a half later.
Wow.
And they sold like hotcakes. So it was a huge moneymaker. I mean, billions of dollars for them.
It's funny, I just showed him, but I just showed him before you came. So everybody has their favorite moments in Transformers, but I said, John, you got to see this. So for me, it was when the '78 Camaro transformed into Bumblebee, the new one. I said, I don't think it's the exact one that's downstairs, but it's when they're in the tunnel, and Megan Fox says, you know, for such an advanced car, why does he always turn into this piece of crap? Throws Shia LaBeouf out of the car with Megan. He's very sensitive. You can talk to Bumblebee like this. And as so Bumblebee gets on 2 wheels, goes through the tunnel, and all of a sudden I think it flashes off of one of the new Camaros going by. And then boom, transforms.
Exactly.
And one thing I remember in the movies, being actually in the movie theater at that time, we were allowed to, is the crowd going nuts. And everybody, oh my God.
Right.
And that was a big thing for, I guess also helping to launch that car.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah. This Bumblebee, like I said, it was featured a lot in Chicago. It's actually, I'm the only director in the world to ever shoot the space shuttle and beyond the pad and right in, under, and around. On Armageddon, we were the first ones.
Oh wow!
to do
Yeah,
it.
of course.
And they allowed me to do it the second time. I think it was the last shuttle launch. We have pictures of that Bumblebee right there underneath the space shuttle.
Wow.
All right. So it's pretty iconic.
Even more iconic, yeah.
But it's funny. We had it at Cape Canaveral, and Frances McDormand, the actress, there was a parking lot by the big VAB building, this gigantic building. And Frances McDormand, she's won a bunch of Oscars. I don't know if your audience watches those movies. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But she's a great woman, and she's literally laying on the car in the windshield, and she's laying there, and a guy comes out holding his bag with his car keys, and he's like, "What are you doing with my car?" She goes, "This is not your car. This is Bumblebee. Look at the logo." And the guy goes, "No, it's my car." Because they sold these cars with logos, you know what I'm saying? Now Transformer logos.
Oh,
yeah. So
that's so
pretty
funny.
So anyway, they gave me that car. It sat at my house for about, I think, 5 years, and they said they were going to give it to me for $1.
Wow.
Okay. As a gift, you know. It's
of course.
Like, okay.
Just curious, where did it sit at your house?
It's on a turntable.
Pretty much so you pretty much built your house around the turntable for Bumblebee.
You could say, you could say Bumblebee bought the house. You know? Okay. So, and then one day I get a letter. The new CEO's in town, all right, for GM General Motors, and they sent me a letter, and they're like, "We want our car back." The thing was, the guy who gave it to me and the design team that gave it to me, and Ed knew the whole deal, and yeah, whatever. The contract for me buying for $1 never got sent. Okay, and they they said, we want our car back. We're going to consider it a stolen car. You have our property. And I'm like, hang on. So I write a letter to the new CEO, who's the CEO currently, and it was a pretty impassioned letter. You know, I was working for a company for 20 years, and I'm like, I've helped make you billions of dollars.
Pretty much
I said,
created an
I said, like, are you kidding? I haven't asked for 1 cent.
Yes.
Nothing. You know, and I've been loyal to you.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes to loyalty, because I'm a very loyal person. And they write me back. One of her flacks writes me back and saying, we're going to consider it a stolen car and send the sheriff to your house. I would love to see the sheriff. It would be a great YouTube story. The sheriff coming to arrest me for Bumblebee in my house. So I ended up like, you know, corporations, I guess they can be, I mean, it kind of shows you indicative of how a lot of corporations are. You do big things for them and they don't treat you right, and there you go. They lost a good friend.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's the story of this Bumblebee.
Yeah, so there it is, and
Pretty much
I
the
almost
car
got
wouldn't
arrested
even
for this
exist.
car. What?
Pretty much the car wouldn't even exist probably.
So
It
that
was a movie.
that Bumblebee, let me just explain those Bumblebees. I don't know if I said it, but Rick is the only one who has those real
Correct.
Camaros. All
Yep.
right, and he doesn't have the Hero one from this movie 3. That's the Hero one.
That's the Hero car.
So
Wow.
the Hero one is like the one that's like
Yes.
the pristine one.
Wow, very cool. And then after doing some research and stuff, realized that there was also a evolution of Barricade, which we have as well here.
Right.
That is part of your personal
So what we
collection.
do with the 4 cars that you have downstairs, all of them have toys. All right, so we have to design them well in advance of the movie.
Okay.
We have to build them. We have to go back and forth to Hasbro. It's a process.
That's cool.
All right. So there are toys.
There's
of all
not
those
many.
cars.
Listen, and it's funny because in the collector car world, outside of movie cars, sometimes we'll talk about if there's a toy made of a specific car, there's an additional value to it.
Yeah,
if it's
yeah,
a
they're all-
postered
so
car,
we
a
have all-
magazine car,
yeah.
this is not. They're toys made. That's cool.
So basically, it is just you can also put in that you don't have to put this on film right now, but you can put in that that Camaro downstairs is a real Camaro souped up engine.
Yep.
So that's not on.
Okay.
It's on the real chassis.
Cool.
Okay. The Barricade is that one we shot in London. I think even by the Queen's Row, we did a big scene with Mark Wahlberg, a big battle with Mark Wahlberg in Detroit.
Okay.
That one.
Yep.
The design thing of that was just a regular Mustang 5.0, and we probably spent, just to build it out, probably $150,000 just in terms of just the design and
Wow.
to build it out,
Yep.
and to modify all the stuff. But it's a very fast car. And if you need it as a security car in front of your house, maybe you can just turn the lights on.
It's a perfect car.
Dual
It's
purpose,
the
dual
perfect
purpose.
car.
And then I think, all of our followers and all of our collectors, I mean, we specialize in vintage Lamborghinis. So to have your personal Aventador here was also part of the franchise.
But that Aventador was from Lambo. I've worked with Lambo a bunch.
Yeah.
Since the first Transformers, literally, this is what my office would be. Literally, they will, I'm not kidding you, they will fly cars over from the Swiss Auto Show, right?
Yep,
To
Geneva,
To
yeah.
Geneva, right?
Yeah.
And they will fly to my office, all right? They did it with the Bugatti, and they literally have these cars. Pagani, I mean, it's crazy what car corporations, once that franchise came out,
Of course.
they would just say, what car do you want? Use our car, use our car.
You have to realize you have to realize what a franchise like that will do for a car.
Yeah.
Of
course.
The launch of, considering like we just talked about the launch of a car.
Right. The funny story is the Porsche from Bad Boys.
I was,
We talked
you know
about
what?
the
So
Bad
that was going
Boys.
to be my first
The
question.
Bad Boys
Anyways.
story. So Sony did not believe in the movie. I was a punk kid. Will Smith was a punk kid. Martin Lawrence was. With 3 of us. We're right here on the streets of Miami.
Yep.
We had no money for a cool car. Porsche turned us down. We literally, it was a low budget movie. All right.
Wow.
And it was my first entree into directing. So
Really?
it was everything to me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
okay.
I started directing when I was 23, and I saved up all my money and whatever, and that was my first. That Porsche was the first car I bought at a dealer. You know, that was new. Okay.
Wow. I didn't
So
know that.
yeah, and no one would sponsor it for the movie. So I'm like, oh, they were going to rent us some literally bad cars. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, we can't do this. So I gave my car. We used my car. They gave me, I think, $2,000 for rental on the movie, and we had $3,000 worth of damage, paint damage.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah, and that car, I sold it to my post supervisor like half price. Okay. And some guy calls me up. Hey, tell me where the kill switch is. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, I just want to make sure you're the real Michael Bay. And he goes, I tell him where it is, and he goes, okay, I just sold that car for $700,000. Right?
Well, I think
Anyway,
I would say
I
that.
see your cameraman yawning, so we must be bored.
No, I think he's
not
shocked. His jaw is. He's a car guy. He's a car guy.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought he was yawning. Okay.
No. Wow.
Funny, that's one thing we spoke about, but I never knew that actually that was your car.
That was my car.
So that
yes.
low budget film did a couple things. One, right, it was
Right.
huge for the Porsche car.
Right.
Two, I mean, because this is what they say if you were in that industry, is that you pretty much took Will Smith from he had done some movies, obviously he had French Prince of Bel-Air, but for women and audiences is that when he changed from like a young man to a man.
Oh yeah, I mean he
was
says
the
that
shirt scene when he was
he
running.
said that
and the
he's got
shirt
a whole
flew off,
story.
and the girl and the ladies.
He's got a very he says that's what he
I mean, he
became a
always
movie
used
star.
career.
Well, I think you know what, and it's funny. You could almost say the same about the Porsche because now you wouldn't believe how many clients that have come to us and said they might not know the exact car, but they'll say, "Hey, I want the Porsche that was from Bad Boys. Find me a black 3.6
Right,
turbo.
right,
Find me a
right.
964 turbo black like the movie."
Yeah.
So. Your relationship, I think, and it's an honor to have you here because also your relationship to the automotive world
Yeah.
and Hollywood is so.
Well, Porsche saw the movie and they sponsored our party in Cannes. Okay?
No way.
They're like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
first and
It
then
was the
you know,
best
yeah,
commercial
yeah,
for them
yeah.
imaginable.
Yeah.
And you also used, was it Bad Boys 2? You also used your personal car as well, right?
Yes, I did. It was the Ferrari.
So I've heard that story, but
Yeah.
I'd never.
But the deal was Ferrari only had 2 Maranellos.
Okay.
And I bought the third one.
Wow.
So, because they could only give us 2. I've done a lot of work with Ferrari. Ferrari's been great with me. And
Incredible.
a lot of these car companies have been fantastic with me because we treat their cars well.
Yes.
And we show them off and.
You make icons out of that.
No,
You
man,
make
it's just-
I mean, you make
Anyway, but that Lambo, that was Lockdown. It was our big character in movie 3. Movie 3.
Okay.
Right? Movie 3?
Yep.
I better have this right. Hang on
And that
one second.
was-
Hang on.
Was that
hang
the
on.
age of?
Hang on, Lockdown. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Lockdown, I'm sorry. The Lambo, you can tell I've done a lot of movies. It gets a little
Yeah.
confusing. Okay, the Lambo was in movie 4.
Okay.
That's-
Shot in Chicago. That Lambo was also, it was one of the main bad characters, the Decepticon. And when they were going to build us a car, or give us a car for the movie, there's a Lambo collector who I was working with, and he said to me, have them painted that Grigio whatever. They've only painted it on 10 cars. They go for $1 million each. There was a special car they made.
The Reventon.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
One of 20.
Oh, one of 20. Okay,
One of
he was
20.
wrong. He was wrong by half.
One of 20, but yes.
Okay, and
He had great taste.
he did have great taste, and he says, get it painted this special color. And I'm like, okay, why? He says, because it's so rare. They only have painted it on 20 cars in the world.
Wow.
Okay, and so I called the CEO, who's fantastic, and I said, hey, and by the way, that color, that Grigio whatever, I think our bad character needs to be, because it's also a very cool color, because it's a special color that has a little bit of a gold flake in the light. It's only at certain times. It's pretty amazing. and they gave me a special VIN. It's the year that the Lambo was invented.
Yes,
right?
1963.
And it was whatever the VIN is. It's a special VIN.
I saw that. I was actually shocked how they were able to do that.
They did. They said this
Yeah.
is what this special VIN is
Because
for.
to do that, I mean, they would do it if they were making 100 special cars. They
Right.
would, put the VINs together.
Right.
But I've never seen them give actually somebody a special VIN. So
Right.
it's very, very cool.
So I ended up buying that car, and I think they are painting some cars with that color now. I'm not sure.
They've done a few. I
Yeah.
mean, we're not talking a lot.
Right.
Yeah, not talking a lot.
In terms of the Lambo, it's literally it's a great looking car. It's literally still has a plastic on inside.
It's basically a
Okay?
brand new car.
Brand new car.
It's basically a new car.
But and then we've got the Mercedes.
Mercedes.
Is it the
SLS.
SLS. That car apparently was the first one in the country, and I think it's got a special interior. This is the one that was, I think, in Geneva. Then it was in Los Angeles Auto Show, and the Mercedes gave it to our movie.
Wow.
Literally right after the auto show, it came to our movie.
Wow.
And I never gave it back because I bought it.
You're like, I'll take that.
They're all kind of hard to part with, so we'll see. We'll see.
So
That was the one Rosie drove.
That's the one Rosie drove. That's the one Patrick Dempsey
Yeah.
was in. That was Soundwave in movie 4. Movie 4, I think, grossed $1.2 billion. Massive movie. At that time, it became the biggest movie in China of all time. So that's now been surpassed, but
Of course.
it's kind of wild. That car was also, we shot it, there's a story about it, we shot it at the Dodge Brothers house in Detroit.
Okay.
The
Wow.
Dodge Brothers
Yeah.
who took on, who'd they take on, GM or
Yeah, it was.
something like that?
Yes. Yeah.
There's a great story between them.
Awesome car. And I think today collectors have looked back on the SLS as well as it's an end of an era. You won't see Mercedes make another car like that. I mean, it's just so iconic.
Right.
It does everything right as well. It's fast, it's comfortable, it looks great.
Right.
And it's
And
all
when you have the
motor.
gold wing doors,
Oh,
it's pretty neat.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Of course.
It's awesome.
So maybe we should go downstairs, take a look at some of these cars. We have, what do we have? Bumblebee, we have Barricade, we have Soundwave,
SLS. Yes.
and then we have Lockdown.
Yes.
And they're here in the showroom.